Can we spend a minute on politics? Because I am interested in your thoughts on it. Because I know you're not a fan of Trump. And I think that you think he's racist. But you tell me, because I look at Biden's history of comments and I'm like, oh, my Lord, including to you. That thing about if you're not going to vote for me, you ain't black. That's listed on the tally of the racist or racially insensitive things he said.
You know what's the more interesting conversation for me, and this is I'm glad you brought that up in regard to Trump. Why does nobody ever talk about him being unpatriotic, like not being patriotic? And what I mean by that is, if he says he wants to suspend the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election, or his lawyers were in court and his lawyers were like, well, he never agreed to support the Constitution, or we saw him, attempt to lead an attempted coup of this country. Like, that's just unconstitutional. Like, why does nobody ever say he's not a patriot? Like, why does that discussion never come up? Because when I think about how mad, conservatives seem to get sometimes when they see people, taking a knee, right, at football games, and they call that, not being patriotic. How come nobody ever says, wanting to suspend, the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election? How come nobody ever says that's not patriotic?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's no question. I don't know what specific you're referring to, but I've seen Trump Truth Social posts that speak to exactly what you are saying. I don't know about in court, but he's suggested things like that. I'm not going to defend that.
Colorado case, I think.
But here's the thing. So, and I don't defend Trump's behavior after January 6th at all. I don't think he behaved well in any way, shape, or form. But I just think that there are bigger issues. And I think if you're going to talk about actions that are extra constitutional, there are sins, grave sins, on both sides, but especially on Biden's side. The end around he did on the Supreme Court on some of the COVID stuff, on the rent abatement possibilities, on now the student loans that he's not allowed to be doing, but he's trying to find a way to do it anyway, on trying to get Trump off the ballot so that voters can't vote for him, on using the justice system for the first time in almost 250 years to go after a political opponent, all those things. They don't make me say, yay, for all the stuff Trump did post-January 6th, but they even the playing field for me more, where I'm like, I'm just going to vote on who I think is going to get the country in the best shape.
I think that's what most people are, but even with what you said just now, it's kind of like the Spider-Man meme, right? Because you can say those things about President Biden, but then you point to Donald Trump in January 6th. You can also point to Donald Trump trying to find 11,000 more votes, in Georgia. And, we always know voter suppression is a thing. So it's just like, listen, man, I just don't believe in politicians, period. And as I said earlier,
I agree with
anybody that wants me to, endorse a politician at this point, then y'all have to put out some better candidates and put out some people that I believe in, because I don't believe in any of them. But to your point, I'm not sitting out the election in November, which is something that I would also like to just put on record. I've never told anybody not to vote. Now, I've had conversations with people and I've said I understand why people don't want to, but I think that you should still get out there and vote for, who you think can keep this country on course. Like for me right now, I feel like I'm voting to preserve democracy, because, I've read Project 25. I don't know how you feel about it, but, Project 25, it's very terrifying to me. And, like I said, we've seen what Donald Trump has attempted to do on January 6th. And, hearing rhetoric like, I want to suspend the Constitution to overthrow the results of an election, that's scary. That's not the kind of America I want to live in.
Well, what do you think about Joe Biden bragging that he's doing ends around the Supreme Court, which is what he just said this week on this so-called student loan forgiveness, which essentially means the truckers listening to us right now are going to have to pay off the student loans of the rich college elites something he was told by the Supreme Court he didn't have the power to do. He's not a king. And he's out there bragging that he's doing ends around them, notwithstanding rulings he's forced to follow. Like, that stuff, too, is extra constitutional. His refusal to enforce the border law, extra constitutional. I mean, he could have been impeached for just what's happening along the southern border alone, not to mention him having classified documents and all the other laws that he has allegedly broken. I look at him and I think he's got no moral high ground.
I don't think either one. You cannot talk about anybody standing on a moral high ground when Donald Trump is on the other side. Like, I don't think either one of them can talk about, standing on moral high ground. But, when it comes to doing things like the student loan debt, this might sound crazy, but I know this is why people like certain elected officials. I feel like this is why some people like Trump. I think people have no problem with you bending the rules or breaking the rules if there's a tangible benefit to it. I think that, a lot of people like Trump and they support Trump because they know Trump is willing to go hard for who he considers his base. Now, like Aaron said in Death of a Nation in my book, he's convinced these poor, white voters that he is for them, but their conditions aren't getting any better either. And
but how can you say that? The economy was much better under Trump, and the voter poll after poll after poll reflects that.
Sure, but it never trickles down to the poor, and I don't even understand why we keep acting like it does. Like, it's like you'll see people say the economy is great. Stocks are up. The people I'm talking about don't have no stocks. The people I'm talking about that live in those rural areas in Moncks Corner, South Carolina, like where I'm from, they don't know nothing about no damn stock market. They can't see past their bills. All they're trying to do is keep some food on their table and a roof over their head. My first
but Charlamagne, under Biden, inflation has risen to plus 17% and then some. It's still hovering and these people are paying almost 30% more on certain things like foods, and not to mention gas prices. That's all under Joe Biden because of his spendthrift ways, because he's just dumping the people's money on all sorts of legislation, the so-called Inflation Reduction Act and the COVID relief that didn't have to go through when he first took over. All those things have consequences. Trump, he kept costs low.
Listen, the poor was still poor under Trump, and Trump did convince a whole bunch of poor white people to go out there and vote for him, but their conditions have not changed. I guarantee you, if you was
I think they changed for the worse. I'm not saying Trump solved it, but they've changed for the worse under Joe Biden. And the thing is, like, they worry about immigration, right? Immigrants coming in with cheap labor, taking the jobs that were available to them. That's all happening under Joe Biden in record numbers now. The kitchen table issues that people vote on have gotten worse under Biden, were better under Trump. There was a black focus group in, what state was it, Steve? Was it South Carolina? No, it was Georgia. That happened just the other day that MSNBC went down and conducted, and they asked these black voters, and we're talking about all voters, not just black, but why would you vote for Trump? Like, what are you thinking? Because they said they're going to. Here's what they said. We actually queued it up.
Do each of you support Donald Trump?
I do.
Yes. Yes for all three of you? Yes. Has this trial changed your opinion, even caused you to waver or question that at all?
No, it's actually caused me to support him more. I just don't believe that's a coincidence that we have a trial happening in Atlanta. We have one happening in New York. So the question people are beginning to ask themselves, like I did, is like, why now?
I've talked to many people who formerly identified as a Democrat. They have changed their political persuasion to independent, and they are looking forward to voting for Trump. Wow. Because now they find something in common with a political candidate at that level.
When you say they find commonality, what is that commonality?
They have felt persecuted by the system of American injustice. And it's not a stretch for them to think that Trump may be a victim as well.
And there was more on it, Charlamagne, where they said they think he'd be a stronger leader in dealing with some of our adversaries.
I can see where they would feel that way about the stronger leader part. I hate that whole conversation about black people are gravitating towards Trump because, we've been persecuted by the system, and he's being persecuted by that same system. No, Donald Trump is a person who has reaped the benefits of that system. He's a white male rich, privileged men. That is the reason that, these trials have even taken so long to happen, because they were even dragging their feet. America has no system in place to even prosecute a person like Donald Trump. They never thought that they would have to do that. A former president of the United States of America, no. So I disagree with all of that. I disagree with all of that wholeheartedly. Now, I do feel, if you ask me why people, some black people I know have gravitated towards Trump, a lot of them talk about money, right? Like they talk about the stimulus checks, and they talk about, the PPP loans, right? And what I would tell them is, yeah, you got some extra money in your pocket, but at what cost? At what cost? Because think about the circumstances that happened in order for you to get that money in your pocket. Millions of people had to die because of COVID, because of, Donald Trump's poor planning in regard to the COVID, of him getting rid of, pandemic
it's a stretch to blame COVID on him. I want to tell you about Genucel's 25-year anniversary with an extra 25% off their already awesome prices, making this the biggest Genucel sale ever. Right now, get Genucel's most popular package featuring Gen 90 for immediate results in minutes, and their top-selling under-eye bags and puffiness serum for over 70% off. Save big on all Genucel top-selling products for a younger, more youthful-looking you. And see those pesky bags and puffiness disappear right before your eyes. Genucel guarantees you will see results in less than 12 hours or your money back. For a limited time, get 70% off, 70 I say, plus an extra 25% anniversary discount automatically applied at checkout. I mean, if my math is correct, that's 95% off. Good luck finding a better sale. Once this sale is gone, though, it's gone. Order yours right now and get the Genucel jawline treatment for a more contoured, defined jawline. Genucel.com/MK60. Genucel.com/MK60. Visit Genucel.com now and get a free spa box with 2 bonus gifts and free shipping. It's a great deal. GENUCEL.com/MK60. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.